Alright, guys. Well, let me make sure this is recording. Okay, it is. Welcome to Storytime. We are Rex and Kolby. Hey, everybody. She's got a voice kind of like mine. It's weird. Anyways, guys, if you remember last week, we were doing Precious Moments, Friends Forever. There's 6 stories in this book. We read the first 3 last week. They're a little bit short, but it was fun. We're going to read the other 3 this week. You ready for this, Kolby? Let's do this for everybody. The best gift ever. So let's see. The little turtle put on his best hat and tie. Let's start out with the photo, guys. The picture. There we go. So, let's read about this turtle. Tommy, the turtle, had just finished cleaning and polishing his shell. Since he had already put away food for the winter, everything seemed to be in order. The little turtle put on his best hat and tie and headed for a nice walk in the woods. Tommy could feel the cold air of winter coming, and it was time to say goodbye to all of his summer friends. As he walked down a leafy path in the woods, he saw some little flowers. "Goodbye, little flowers," said the turtle. "Thank you for brightening my days. I'll see you next year." Further down the path, Tommy stopped and looked way up high. "Goodbye, pretty leaves," he said. "Thank you for your shade in the summer and all your pretty colors in the fall. I'll see you again next spring." When a bird flew by, Tommy tipped his hat and smiled. "Goodbye, Mrs. Robin," he said. "Have a lovely fly south. I'll see you next spring, too." Mrs. Robin waved her wing and chirped as she flew off into the crisp morning air. Tommy, the turtle, was in a very good mood. He whistled a happy little tune as he walked into a clearing in the woods. Then Tommy saw something that made his good mood disappear. He stopped whistling. Standing in the clearing was a very sad-looking mouse. This is the mouse, guys. Pretty sad. Pretty sad-looking mouse, huh, Cole? So let's see what happens. This sad little mouse looked skinny and tired and very, very cold. He had a dry piece of bread in his paws. "Why are you standing out here in the cold?" asked Tommy. Are you lost?" "My name is Marvin," the little mouse told Tommy between shivers. "I'm not lost. I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have a home anymore." Tommy looked at Marvin and asked, You don't have warm clothes or a blanket? You don't have nowhere to go?" "No," Marvin said quietly. "I don't know anyone in this part of the woods." Just then a snowflake landed on Tommy's nose. "Oh my goodness," said the turtle. "The first snow of the year. I really must be on my way. Good luck, Marvin." Says he tied pretend antlers onto his head, the turtle did. Let's see what that's about. You want to see what happens to make that come about? Tommy hurried back to his nice warm home. Then he had a big dinner and climbed into his soft bed, but he couldn't go to sleep. He couldn't get poor Marvin out of his mind. Marvin didn't have a warm house or a big dinner or even a soft bed. But, really, what could Tommy do? And then he knew. He got right out of bed and went to his workshop. Tommy had decided to make an early Christmas present for Marvin. He worked all that night and through the next day. He worked and worked and worked until he was finished. Tommy wrapped his gift in pretty Christmas paper with a big ribbon on top. Then, to make it seem just a little more like Christmas, he tied pretend antlers on his head. That's how we got to that picture. Tommy giggled as he left his house. He was so excited. What would Marvin think? Tommy walked through the forest once again. This time the pond had ice at its edges. Most of the leaves had fallen off the trees and all of the flowers were gone. Tommy reached the clearing and looked around. "Marvin," he called, "where are you?" The little turtle looked and looked, but he couldn't find Marvin. There was no mouse anywhere to be seen. "Oh, Marvin," Tommy cried, "I took too long and now you're gone." Just then, the turtle heard some leaves rustle. He saw a little mouse nose poking through the leaves. It looked like Marvin had burrowed under the leaves to get warm. "I'm so happy to see you," shouted Tommy. Look, I made a Christmas surprise for you." Thank you," said the cold little mouse. He smiled a tiny smile and opened his gift. Inside was a perfect mouse bed and a soft, warm blanket. "And best of all," Tommy said happily, "I built a house for you right next to mine. We're going to be neighbors. Come on, I'll take you there." "Oh, Tommy," the mouse cried, "it's just beautiful. It's the best surprise in the whole world, but I ain't got nothing to give you," Marvin said quietly. "Except my friendship, but that doesn't seem like much compared to your gift to me." "Your friendship is the best gift you could ever give me," said Tommy with a great big smile. "I couldn't think of anything I'd rather have." Marvin climbed into his soft, warm bed and snuggled under his new blanket. In a very sleepy and very happy voice, he said, "Thank you, friend." Tommy smiled and headed home with his new friend. Look, guys, this is a picture of them together. See it, Cole? Look, he's up there asleep on top of him. Alright, next story. Missy and Mr. Snowfriend. So, let's start out with the picture, guys. It says Missy loved to make believe. What do you think about that, Cole? Is that going to be you someday making believe like we are right now? So, Missy loved to make believe. She would build castles out of cardboard boxes, and she'd be the prettiest princess in the whole land. She would dress up in her mother's clothes and then pretend that she was going to a royal ball. Sometimes she played in the attic. Far in the back corner was an old trunk filled with the best things for pretending. Her mother would always tell her, "Your imagination is a wonderful thing. As long as you use it, you will never be lonely." Missy didn't know if that was true or not. She did feel lonely sometimes. She was feeling kind of lonely now because it was winter time and, all the bigger kids on her street were in school. Missy loved to make up pretend friends, but they weren't quite the same as the real ones, You can't hug an imaginary friend. "I know," thought Missy one cold, lonely morning, "I'll go outside and see if I can find a new friend." It says, "I can make a friend out of snow. In the meadow we can build a snowman." Alright, let's see. She got all bundled up in her scarf, hat, mittens, and coat, and she went outside to play. But there were no other children to play with. "Well, that's okay," thought Missy. "I can make me a friend out of snow." She started with a little ball of snow. She rolled it and packed it and smoothed it out until it was a perfect snow friend tummy. Then she made another ball for a head, placed that on the top. Missy went back in the house to get an old hat, a scarf from the attic. Finally, she put a great big happy face on her snow friend. "Hello, Mr. Snow Friend," Missy said happily. "My name is Missy." Missy spent the morning getting to know her new friend. They talked, they laughed, and told stories all morning long. When it was time to go inside for lunch, the little girl hugged her friend. "Mr. Snow Friend, you're my best friend, and I cannot wait until we can play again," Missy said. "He really is my best friend, Mommy," she said at lunch, "and he tells me the funniest stories." Missy's mother smiled. "I'm glad that you have someone to play with," she said. "After your nap, you can go out and play again." Yay. Oh, it's exciting, huh? When Missy woke up, she hurried to get into her coat and ran out to play. But what she saw made her cry. The sun had come out and it was melting Mr. Snow Friend. It says, "No," cried Missy, "don't melt away." See? He's kind of slumping down. "Don't melt away, you're my best friend." But Mr. Snowfield kept melting, drip, 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 until all that was left was slush. "Oh, Mommy," cried the sad little girl, "what will I do? My snow friend melted away." Her mother hugged her and said, "It's supposed to snow tonight, so you can make a new friend tomorrow." Missy knew that she couldn't do that. Mr. Snow Friend was special. She didn't ever want any other snow friend. That night, Missy looked out at the stars. Quietly, she began to sing a little song that she had just made up. "Little angel, small and bright, hear me when I cry tonight. I wish I may, I wish I might, have my snow friend back tonight." Much later, when Missy was fast asleep, snowflakes began to fall from the sky, and with them came two small angels. "Be very quiet," one said to the other as he gathered up some snow. "We don't want to wake her." The angels worked quickly, and soon Mr. Snow Friend was all put back together. One little angel lifted the Snow Friend's hat and put a secret surprise underneath. Look, guys, see what it is? They're giving him a halo. Maybe that'll stop him from melting, huh? We'll see. Let's see what happens. The next morning, Missy looked out her window. "Mr. Snow Friend," she yelled happily, "you're back!" "Oh, Mr. Snow Friend," she said as she threw her arms around him, "we can play all day again." The Snow Friend smiled at her with a twinkle in his eye. As the two friends played, the day grew longer and the sun shone brighter. Soon the Snow Friend began to melt again. A tear appeared in Missy's eye. "I guess you'll never stay forever," she said. She sat down in the snow and she cried. When she looked up again, there was nothing left but a lopsided pile of snow with a hat on top. Missy reached for the hat. "I'll keep this to remember all the fun we've had," she said. But when she lifted the hat, something tumbled to the ground. It was a tiny glass ball with a bow around it. She lifted the ball gently and looked inside. There was Mr. Snowfriend in his hat and scarf. He was wearing the biggest smile, and when she shook the ball, snow floated down on Mr. Snowfriend. Missy knew that this time her friend would stay forever. Mr. Snowfriend would never melt again. She looked up into the bright blue sky and said, "It's just beautiful. Thank you, angels, thank you." Mr. Snowfriend would never melt again, it says. She got herself a little Mr. Snowfriend snow globe. It's a Snowfriend habitat for free-range snowmen. Last story, guys. What'll I do without you? The goose splashed its wings and wiggled its tail. See what happens. Sarah looked forward to the warmest days of the summer. That was the time of year when she went to visit her grandfather on his farm. There were always so many wonderful things to see and do. Bluebirds flew in the open fields, bright flowers grew everywhere, and there were more trees on the farm than Sarah had ever seen in the city where she lived. As she walked down to the pond, Sarah said, "It's so wonderful here. I just wish I had a friend I could share it with." But there were no other boys and girls at the pond. Sarah sat down on an old tree stump by the water and took off her shoes and socks. "Wading in the water would be a lot more fun if I had a friend," she said. She walked through the cool water and smiled as tiny fish nipped at her toes. Birds were chirping all around, and Sarah was just thinking how perfect and peaceful it was when, splash, up flew a lily pad. A very wet goose was underneath of it. The goose splashed its wings in the water and wiggled its tail and seemed very happy to see someone else in the pond. Sarah, she wasn't really that happy. She was covered with water. "Oh, look what you done," she told the goose. "You got me all wet. Now go away, little goose." I think they might wind up friends, guys. What do you think? That's the next picture. Let's check it out. What do you think, Cole? The goose stopped splashing and looked sadly at the little girl as if to say, I was only playing." It waddled up to Sarah and flapped its wings a little more gently, making little waves in the water. Sarah shook her head. No, I don't want to play with a messy wet goose. Go away," she said. With that, she stomped up to the shore and plopped down on the grass, but the goose came and sat down right next to her. It looked at Sarah with its big blue eyes, like this cold blue. Back its eyelashes. Let's see. Sarah could almost hear it saying, Please don't go. Stay and play with me. Be my friend." But I don't want a silly goose for a friend," said the little girl. Sarah stood up and walked toward her grandfather's house, but the goose would not give up. It kept following her, nipping at her apron. Finally, Sarah started to giggle. Finally, she turned and said, I know you want to be my friend, little goose, but go find another goose like yourself. I want to play with girls and boys like me. That's just how it works. Now, you go on back to the pond, and I'm going to go back to the farm." Well, that seemed to fix things. When Sarah continued on her way, the goose headed down a different path. But just as she reached her grandfather's backyard, Sarah felt a little nudge on her hand. This time the goose had a beautiful flower in its bill. "What a sweet goose you are," the little girl said. "What a sweet goose you are." She took the flower and gave the goose a great big hug. "And do you know what?" she said. "I think it would be fun to have a goose for a friend. Just because you're a goose and I'm a little girl doesn't mean we can't be friends. Even though they might have made an odd pair, they would still have lots of fun together playing in the pond, hiding in the tall grass, and watching all the drifting clouds as they wafted by." The summer had just begun for Sarah, and it was sure to be the best ever. For now, she had a friend to share it with. Amen. That was fun. You have fun? Thank you guys for joining us for story time. Me and Colby enjoy it. Love y'all. See you next time. See you next time. Bye-bye-bye.